My name is Evelyn Harper, and at 68 years old, I finally learned that love shouldn't come with a monthly invoice. 425. Years after my husband Richard died of a sudden heart attack, I poured every ounce of myself into being the perfect mother to our only child, Jonathan. I worked double shifts as a school secretary, skipped vacations, and wore the same coat for a decade so that Jonathan could have the best schools, the newest gadgets, and a life free of the worries I'd known growing up poor. When he met Claire at 28, I was thrilled. She was bright, beautiful, and seemed to adore him. I welcomed her, like the daughter I'd never had. When they got engaged, I cashed in half my small retirement savings, $45,000 too. Help them buy a cozy 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. It's an investment in your future, I told them, beaming as we signed the papers. My name wasn't on the deed, of course. We don't want you tied down with a mortgage at your age, Mom, Jonathan said. I believed him. The requests started small. Mom, could you help with a down payment on a better car? Mine keeps breaking down. $8,000 then. Furniture for the new house. Another. $6,000 groceries when times were tight. Utilities A. Lavish honeymoon to Hawaii because we deserve it after all the stress. I never said no. How could I? Jonathan would hug me and say, "You're the best mom in the world. We couldn't do this without you." Oh, over 8 years, I calculated it once quietly. Ashamedly $187,000. Money from Richard's life insurance. My pension. The inheritance from my own parents. I ate canned soup for dinner so their fridge could be stocked with organic produce. I canceled my planned trip to see the Grand Canyon 3 times because something came up. I told myself it was temporary. Once they were settled, they'd stand on their own. The wedding was the first real crack in the illusion. They'd been together 7 years, engaged for 3. I had a navy blue mother-of-the-groom dress hanging in my closet, pressed and ready. I'd even lost 15 pounds, so I'd look nice in the photos. I called Jonathan one Friday afternoon. "Sweetheart, any news on the wedding date? I want to request time off work." There was a long pause. Then Claire's voice in the background, laughing. Jonathan cleared his throat. "Actually, Mom, we got married last week. It was just a small thing at the courthouse. Immediate family only. Immediate family." The words landed like a slap. Oh, I managed. "Congratulations." I wish I'd known. We didn't want to make a fuss," he said quickly. "You know how stressful big weddings are?" I hung up and opened Facebook on my ancient laptop. There they were, dozens of photos. Claire in a stunning lace gown that must have cost thousands. Jonathan in a tailored tux. Claire's parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, all beaming in a garden venue with flowers everywhere. A 3-tier cake, champagne toasts, a string quartet. It wasn't a courthouse elopement. It was a full wedding, beautifully planned. And I hadn't been invited. I stared at one photo. Claire's mother hugging her, tears in her eyes. That should have been me. That night I cried until my ribs hurt. Not just for the wedding, but for every time I'd felt like an afterthought. The birthdays where they were too busy to visit. The Christmases where my gifts were extravagant and theirs were thoughtful but inexpensive. The way Claire would text, "Evelyn, the electric bill is higher this month. Could you Venmo $200? A week later, the call came as expected. "Mom, the mortgage payment is due and we're a little short. Could you transfer the usual $1,200? I sat at my kitchen table staring at the pale pink dress I'd bought for a wedding that never included me. "No," I said quietly. Silence. Then Claire grabbed the phone. "Evelyn, what's going on? We really need this." "The bank, you got married without me?" I interrupted. "You had a beautiful wedding with everyone who matters to you. Apparently, I'm not one of them." "It wasn't like that," Claire protested. "We just wanted something intimate, with 50 guests and a catered reception." More silence. "Evelyn, you're overreacting." Jonathan finally said, "Your family. We love you. But we can't deal with drama right now." Drama. Me asking to be part of my only son's wedding was drama. That was the moment something inside me snapped, not with rage, but with clarity. I was done buying a place in their lives. I stopped the transfers, canceled the credit card I'd co-signed, changed my bank passwords. When they called again, desperate, I let it go to voicemail. 2 weeks later, they showed up at my door unannounced. Jonathan looked exhausted. Claire's eyes were red. Mom, we need to talk. Let them in, but I didn't offer coffee. The landlord threatened eviction, Jonathan said. We thought you'd help, like always. I did help like always, I replied, for years. And I got excluded from the most important day of your life. Claire rolled her eyes. It's just a party, Evelyn. Get over it. Jonathan tried the emotional route. Mom, I feel awful about the wedding. We were stressed. Claire's family pressured us for something small. Her family was there, I said. All of them. He had no answer. Then came the guilt trip. If you don't help, we'll lose the house. Everything you've invested, everything I gave you as gifts, I corrected. Not investments, gifts. And now I'm choosing to invest in myself. Claire stood up angrily. This is ridiculous. You're punishing us because your feelings are hurt. No, I said calmly, I'm stopping punishing myself. They left in a huff, promising I'd regret it. I didn't. But they weren't done. A month later, I got a letter from a law firm. Jonathan and Claire were petitioning for guardianship, claiming I was showing signs of cognitive decline and financial self-sabotage. They cited my sudden refusal to support them, my paranoid installation of a home security camera after they showed up uninvited twice, and statements from concerned parties about my mental health. They'd spoken to my doctor, twisting a routine checkup, a distant cousin, even the cashier at my grocery store hood apparently said I seemed confused. Once when I forgot my PIN, they wanted control of my remaining savings app. $120,000 and my pension. My son wanted to declare me incompetent to steal what was left. I hired Margaret Stein, an elder law attorney recommended by a support group I'd quietly joined online. She was fierce, no nonsense, and had seen this before. This is textbook financial elder abuse, she told me. Greed wearing a family mask. We prepared meticulously. Bank records of every transfer. Screenshots of texts asking for money. The wedding photos proving their lies. A full psychiatric evaluation showing I was sharper than most 50-year-olds. Character witnesses. My neighbors, old friends. Even my hairdresser who'd watched me transform from a weary people pleaser to a woman reclaiming her life. The court date arrived. Jonathan looked polished in a new suit, probably bought on credit. Claire wore subdued makeup and a demure dress, playing the dutiful daughter-in-law. Their lawyer painted me as a lonely widow spiraling into confusion, manipulated by opportunistic advisors. Then Margaret unleashed the truth. She showed the transfers totaling $187,000. The wedding album from Facebook. Texts where Claire called me the bank in group chats. A voicemail from Jonathan saying, Mom, if you don't send the money, we'll have to reconsider our relationship. She called Dr. Elena Ramirez, the psychiatrist who'd evaluated me. Mrs. Harper is not only competent, Dr. Ramirez testified, but demonstrates exceptional emotional resilience and decision-making capacity. My neighbor Ruth took the stand. Evelyn used to look exhausted, always rushing to help her son. Now she gardens, paints, laughs. She's happier than I've seen her in years. When I testified, I didn't cry. I spoke clearly. I loved my son with everything I had. I gave until I had nothing left to give: money, time, dreams. In return, I was excluded, lied to, and now threatened with losing my autonomy because I finally said no. This isn't about my competence. It's about their entitlement. The judge, a woman in her late 50s with kind but sharp eyes, listened intently in her ruling. She was unequivocal. The evidence overwhelmingly shows that Mrs. Harper is fully competent and that this petition is motivated not by concern, but by financial interest. The request for guardianship is denied with prejudice. Furthermore, I am referring this matter to Adult Protective Services for investigation of potential elder financial abuse. Okay. Jonathan's face went white. Claire burst into genuine tears, not of remorse, but defeat. As we left the courthouse, Jonathan approached me one last time. "Mom, I'm sorry. We can fix this." I looked at him, the boy I'd carried, nursed, cheered for at every game and felt only sadness for what we'd lost. "No, Jonathan," I said softly. "You made your choice when you decided I was worth more as a wallet than as a mother. I hope one day you understand what you've thrown away." I never heard from them again. 6 months later, I sold my old house, too full of ghost sand, moved to a sunny condo on the coast. I took painting classes, joined a book club, traveled to Italy with a group of women my age who'd also learned to choose themselves. I donated a portion of my savings to an elder abuse prevention charity. The rest, I spent on really living for the first time. Some nights, I sit on my balcony watching the ocean and think about the woman who once believed love meant self-sacrifice without limits. That woman is gone. In her place is someone who knows her worth, isn't measured in dollars, cent, or invitations. NEXTENDED. True family doesn't invoice you. And freedom. It's priceless. 6 years have now unfolded since that fateful courthouse day. And at 74 years old, I, Evelyn Harper, stand at a crossroads I never imagined, one where past and future gently intertwine, not in conflict, but in quiet harmony. My life has blossomed in ways that once felt like distant dreams. The little book Waves of Renewal became the seed of something far greater. A literary agent who attended one of my gallery shows approached me with an idea: expand the essays into a full memoir. I laughed at first. Who would want to read the story of an ordinary widow from the suburbs? But she insisted. Your story is every woman's story who ever gave too much and asked for too little, she said. So I wrote. Nights on my balcony turned into chapters. Tears, laughter, rage, and triumph poured onto the page. The memoir, titled Uninvoiced, was published last year. It hit regional bestseller lists, then caught the attention of a national morning show. I sat under bright studio lights, silver hair neatly styled, telling millions about financial elder abuse, about the slow erosion of self-worth disguised as love, about the moment I chose myself. Letters poured in hundreds, then thousands. Women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, writing to say, "You gave me the courage to say no." Men, too, confessing they recognized their own entitlement in Jonathan's actions. Book tours followed, small independent bookstores, libraries, women's shelters. I signed copies until my hand cramped, but every inscription felt like a promise kept to the woman I used to be, and to every woman still waiting for permission to live fully. The charity work evolved into a national Evolve Foundation, the Uninvoiced Project. We offer free legal clinics, emergency grants for seniors escaping financial abuse, and online courses teaching boundary setting and financial literacy. I hired a small staff, including 2 survivors whose stories mirror mine. We partner with banks to flag suspicious patterns in elderly accounts, with senior centers to train staff on recognizing emotional manipulation. Last month, we launched a scholarship for women over 60 returning to school or starting businesses. The first recipient, a 68-year-old former nurse named Gloria, is opening a bakery with her grant. She sent me a photo of her new storefront sign, Gloria's Rise. I cried when I saw it. Art remains my daily communion. My studio, once a spare bedroom, is now a sunlit haven of canvases, brushes, and the faint scent of linseed oil. I've had shows in 3 states, and a New York gallery is courting me for next year. Critics call my work fiercely tender, bold strokes of color emerging from darkness, much like my life. I teach workshops now too, Painting Your Second Act, where women over 55 discovered creativity they never knew they had, watching them mix their first bold red or laydown. A fearless black line never fails to move me. The Silver Wanderers have grown to 12 strong. We've added Patagonia glaciers that took my breath away, Vietnam motorbikes through rice paddies, laughter echoing in markets, and a safari in Botswana where we watched elephants at sunset and whispered about lives reborn. Ruth, my dearest friend from those early dark days, was diagnosed with breast cancer last year. We rallied around her chemo companions, meal trains, midnight calls. She's in remission now, hair growing back silver and wild. Declaring herself more alive than ever, we celebrated with a group trip to Iceland, dancing under the northern lights like teenagers. And Jonathan. Our fragile bridge has strengthened, slowly. Carefully, after that first coffee meeting, we settled into occasional emails, then monthly calls. He never asked for money, not once. Instead, he shared small victories, paying off a debt, earning a promotion through hard work, attending therapy consistently. He volunteers now at a men's group addressing entitlement and family repair. Claire remarried and moved across the country. They divorced quietly. Jonathan lives simply in a one-bedroom apartment, drives a used truck, cooks his own meals. "I'm learning what you tried to teach me all along," he wrote once. "That love isn't transactional." Last year, he asked if he could visit for my birthday. I hesitated, consulted Ruth and my therapist. Yes, I finally started therapy too, and said yes with conditions. One day only. Lunch at a restaurant, not my home. He arrived with a small gift, a hand-carved wooden frame holding a photo of me and Richard from our early marriage, one he'd saved from the old house. "I thought you'd like to have this," he said quietly. We talked for 3 hours. He cried, telling me about the shame he carries. I shared about my new life, my work, my joy. When he asked about forgiveness, I told him truthfully, "I've forgiven the boy you were. I'm learning to trust the man you're becoming." That's different. This year, he came for Thanksgiving not to my home, but to Ruth's, where the Silver Wanderers gather annually. 12 women and 1 man at the table. He helped cook, washed dishes without being asked, listened to our stories with genuine interest. When Gloria spoke about starting her bakery with foundation help, he looked at me with something like, "Ah, Mom," he said later, walking me to my car. "What you've built. It's extraordinary. I'm so proud to be your son, even if I don't deserve it yet." I didn't correct the yet. Progress, not perfection. We've begun a new ritual. Sunday morning walks on the beach when he's in town. We talk about everything and nothing: books, politics, his latest woodworking project, my upcoming show. He carries my art supplies without being asked. Sometimes we sit in silence watching waves, and I feel something healing. Not the raw wound of before, but a scar that's finally stopped aching. I still maintain boundaries. My home remains my sanctuary, invitation only, and he's respected that. Money discussions are off limits. He's fiercely independent now. Trust is a garden we're tending carefully, one honest conversation at a time. Some nights, I think about the woman who once sat alone staring at wedding photos that didn't include her, believing she was only as valuable as her generosity. That woman would never recognize the life I live now, surrounded by chosen family, creating beauty from pain. Helping thousands while helping myself. I've learned that healing isn't linear. It doesn't require full reconciliation to be complete. Some relationships end forever, and that's okay. Some transform slowly, cautiously, into something new and real. Mine with Jonathan falls into the latter, but only because I first chose myself completely. The greatest gift of these years has been understanding that my worth was never in question. It was simply waiting for me to claim it. On my balcony tonight, painting the sunset in fiery oranges and deep purples. I feel Richard's presence somehow in the wind, in the waves, in the brushstrokes. I think he would be proud, not of the books or shows or foundation, but of the woman who finally learned to love herself as fiercely as she once loved others. Freedom isn't just priceless, it's the foundation of everything that followed. And love, true love, whether from others or most crucially from within, ever sends an invoice.